Welcome to 1.4 video lesson. It'll be Unit 1, Lesson 4, Subtracting Positive and Negative Integers. Before you begin, make sure you have this handout in front of you. Take this time to write your name, date, and period. When you're done, you can come back to the video and continue. So today we're going to be talking about 1.4, and you're going to be subtracting positive and negative integers as you have it on your notes. Now in our last section, 1.3, we learned how to add integers. So we're going to recap really quick. So remember the rules for addition. When adding numbers with same sign, like adding positive plus positive or negative plus negative, we're going to have to add the numbers or add the values and take the sign that both numbers have. And this is what we covered last time in 1.3. I am actually going to show you a faster way to remember this. Same signs, then you add the numbers. So what I call it is SS, same sign, and add. So SSA will be a faster way to remember this rule, okay? And then the next part that we learn is if you're adding two numbers with different signs, like positive plus negative or negative plus positive. So when you're adding two integers with different signs, then this is when you think of which team won. That's the question we ask. And in that case, you're going to subtract the values. And what we do is take the sign of the bigger number. And again, this is when we ask the question, which team won, right? Now, another word that we can use to help us remember this better for adding two numbers with different signs. So D for different, S for sign, different signs, we subtract. So DSS will be another key word that we can use to remember this rule. So remember, SSA, same sign, we add, and then DSS, different signs, subtract. I hope that helps you remember it better. So we have just reviewed the rules for adding integers, and we are going to talk a little bit about how subtracting integers will work. And you will have to use this rule again for subtracting integers, which is good because you remember this, you're good at it now, so we can use this again for subtracting integers. So let's talk about how this is going to work. Subtraction is not a big deal when you have something like 10 minus 5, and you don't have to write this. If you have 10 minus 5, everyone knows that 10 minus 5 is just 5. Easy. But it gets a little weird and different for some people when you add those negative, or when I even switch this around. So let's say if I have 5 minus 10, and again, you don't have to write this. What about 5 minus 10? What's the answer for that? Right? Do you see how 10 minus 5, now if I switch, it becomes 5 minus 10? And this can be confusing for some people. So subtraction, if you think of this way, when you have positive and negative numbers, it's actually the same thing as adding the opposite. So subtraction is same as adding the opposites. So, like I said, remember the rules for same adding integers, same sign we add, and different signs we subtract. Remember those two rules? Right. So basically for subtracting integers, we can still use this rule again by making all of the subtraction problems and changing it into addition problems. So if you read this here, the first list here, it says, if subtracting integers becomes a challenge, then change the problem to addition, then use the rules for adding integers. Which team won? So again, we're going to change subtraction problems into addition problem. And then we're going to use this SSA and DSS. And in order to do that, we're going to use this process called keep and change. This is a name of the rule that we're going to use for this. Keep, change. This will be a simple two-step process to change subtraction into addition. The reason we're doing that is because we want to use the two rules that we just became so good at. So I'm going to call this your lifesaver. Whenever you have subtraction of negative integers, I'm going to ask you to put on your lifesaver, and this rule, keep, change, will be your lifesaver. So let me show you how this works. If you have 1 minus 8, this is a kind of problem that people freak out at. But if you use the keep, change rule, this is not going to be bad. So let's follow the rule. Keep, change. Basically, that means you keep the first number, so 1 stay the same. Then you take the subtraction sign and you change it to plus sign. So you keep the first number, change the sign, and then you change the last number to the opposite. So this is positive 8, and now it's negative 8. So again, I'm going to keep the first integer exactly the same. We never change the first number. Then change the subtraction into addition. Then change the positive number to negative. Change it to the opposite. So then if we rewrite this, and I'm going to make it a little skinnier, it's going to be 1 plus negative 8. Now we have 1 plus negative 8, and this is an addition problem now. We know how to add integers. This is positive, negative, so different signs, DSS, we subtract the numbers. 8 minus 1 is 7. And which team won? The negative team won, so the answer would be negative 7. Let's try one more, okay? Keep, change. We keep the first number, so 8 stays the same. Change the subtraction to addition. Then we change the last number to its opposite. This is positive 10, so we change it to negative 10. And then let's rewrite this. This becomes 8 plus negative 10. And again, different signs we subtract. 10 minus 8 is 2. And which team won? The negative team won, because the 10 is a bigger number and it's negative, so it's negative 2 is the answer. So I'm going to have you do the example number 3 on your own, okay? So it's a little bit of work to start, but then we get right into what we were doing when adding integers. So we're basically adding integers, but it just takes the keep, change process to change it from subtraction to addition problem. Now, let's look a little the bottom part here. So it's going to be extra bonus points if you can tell me this next time. This is just another fancy way of saying adding the opposites. What will be another nicer and more professional way of saying adding opposites? It's called, and this is a word that you already know, additive inverse. Additive inverse is a fancy way of saying adding the opposites. Remember we talked about additive inverse? That's when you add opposite numbers together, and what happens is that you get a 0, right? In this case, we're not always getting a 0, but we're still adding the opposite numbers, okay? Now, let's look at other examples here. Let's look at a little more, okay? Example number 4. I have 3 minus negative 5. keep, change, change. We keep the first integer, so which is going to stay as 3. And I'm actually not going to write it here. Keep the first, so 3 stays the same, and we change subtraction to addition. And we change the last number to its opposite, so now it's -5, it turns +5. So now we just have 3 plus 5. And we know that 3 plus 5 is just 15. Same signs we add, so 3 plus 5, 3 plus 5 will be 8. And it'll be +8 because they're both positive numbers. Okay, one more. You have -7 minus -10. Keep, change, change. So keep the first integer, change subtraction to addition, and you change the last number to its opposite. It's -10, so now it becomes +10. So if you rewrite this, it becomes -7 plus 10. And that's adding integers with different signs. DSS, different signs we subtract. So 10 minus 7 is 3. And which team won? The positive team or the negative team? Yes, the positive team won because 10 is a bigger number and it's positive. So this is +3 and you can just write it as 3. And I'm going to have you do the very last example on your own. All right, so like I said, we are still using DSS, right, and SSA, but one more thing you need to remember now is keep, change, and change. So keep these rules in mind, don't forget those. You don't have to change anything for the first integer, you just add the opposites at the end. All right, we will review this next time. Thank you.